A young Peter Parker finds himself at a crossroads at his life, one so important that an evil spell book and a killer monster are the least of his troubles. What'll happen next? Well, let's hop into the pages of Amazing Spider-Man Torn issue number 3 and find out what happens next together, shall we? Alrighty then, so as we rejoin the book, Spider-Man is under attack from Evangeline, a would-be thief who tried to steal a book of dark spells only to get herself turned into a horrifying bat creature. Now, she wants the book back so badly, she's more than willing to kill Spider-Man and anyone around him to get the job done. Of course, in classic webhead fashion, Spider-Man could not take any of this less seriously if he tried. In fact, he spends the first several pages of this new issue just ripping on this woman. Hey, you know, if you're gonna come at me like this, you're gonna need a super villainous code name. Everyone I fight has a code name. You're really doing yourself a disservice if you don't get one. Let's workshop some ideas right now and see what we come up with. The best part by far, though, is that Spider-Man actually says he wants Evangeline returned to her human form as well, because it would be that much sweeter to get her perp walked and photographed that way so everyone can see her face after the double murder that she committed back on Peter's campus. Now, if you can believe it, aid actually comes in this fight in the form of none other than Captain George Stacy, who just so happened to be driving by with his daughter when he saw Spider-Man embroiled in combat. And he did what any self-respecting member of the NYPD, past, present, or future would do: open fire with his service weapon. Now, in any other situation, George would have easily hit what would have been kill shots, but unfortunately, this monstrous form also comes packing a healing factor. Yes, Evangeline has many powers, don't you know, including the ability to sense where the evil book of spells is. She makes a beeline for her prize, which is of course bad for our hero Spider-Man on several levels. One, he can't let the bad guy reclaim the book, but also he kept all of his personal ID in the same web bag, meaning that there's a good chance that this unkillable, scorned monster woman might very well end up learning his secret identity. Thankfully for everyone involved, though, the second Evangeline touches the book, she just kind of disappears into the ether. Well, damn, that was convenient. More on this in a minute, though. With the fight ended, Peter has to stick his head back up again. He bled through his shirt, meaning that George and Gwen are very concerned about his well-being and want to take him to the hospital. This is deathly awkward for Peter to have his ex Gwen be doting over him when he just so happened to be on a date with Mary Jane, one that was getting really serious before the supervillain attack. The Stacys say that MJ is more than welcome to ride with them to the hospital, but she just wants to divorce herself from the whole situation, especially when it seemed like Peter wasn't exactly tripping over himself to take up for her. But hey, you know what? As bad as Peter has it, Evangeline might actually end up having it worse. As she comes to, she is in some strange MC Escher dimension ruled over by another worldly being who is almost certainly Cthulhu if you've been paying attention. In fact, the true mastermind behind the book and these powers is so unknowable that it can only communicate with Evangeline via a liaison, which is a swirling series of shapes that speaks in its own special black text boxes filled with weird symbology. Oh yeah, this is so Lovecraft. The liaison tells Evangeline to listen to its sales pitch or else. And I promise we'll hear all about it later on. From there, we actually transition back on over to MJ, who decided that in her time of need, the person with the best advice for her on how to deal with Peter is none other than his beloved Aunt May, who of course is usually used to Peter coming to her late in the night looking for advice. I gotta say, I love this character pairing. It feels like forever since these two have actually had a real deal conversation in the main Amazing book. And oh yeah, their conversation gets real heavy right away. MJ talks about her feelings for Peter, but also how whenever it feels like they're about to take the next step, something stops them. Is it Peter's fault? Is it her fault? Is it a fault in the universe? A fault in our stars? I don't know. As Aunt May explains, her nephew has always been an interesting kind of fellow. It comes with the territory, losing your parents so young, building relationship with your aunt and uncle only to end up losing your uncle. It made Peter into a serial people pleaser. He loves everyone so deeply he would do anything to protect them, but he would also chop off his left nut if it meant not hurting anyone's feelings. This is of course bad when you're trying to build a healthy adult relationship, because honesty is one of the greatest gifts you can give to anyone. And the truth, unfortunately, sometimes hurts, especially when it comes to answering some of life's biggest and most important questions. Who am I? Where am I going? Who do I love? May has nothing but faith in her nephew that one day he will end up figuring it all out and that he and Mary Jane can live together happily ever after, but she also hopes that MJ will respect herself enough to not wait around forever for him to make up his mind, and if she feels like she isn't being appreciated enough, to walk away. Man, you know, it's been a long time since we've had so much serious, in-depth relationship mining in a Spider-Man story that didn't end up feeling either completely manufactured or totally tired. And hey, you know what? We actually end up getting 2 scenes like this back to back. You see, back at his dorm room, Peter puts away his costume only to be surprised by Harry showing up. They have a big fancy dorm room that Harry's dad Norman paid for, but Harry's almost never around. Only maybe that's about to change because Harry says he can't live with his father anymore. They're fighting all the time and he's getting weirder, more standoffish, spending more time in his basement, more, you know, goblin-y. This ends up creating some major friction though between the two friends because Harry is of course seeing Gwen. Gwen doesn't fully seem to be over Peter. Harry really likes Gwen, but it seems just when they're about to take their relationship to the next level, something happens with Peter that ends up completely stealing Gwen's attention away, like today. Peter seems genuinely gobsmacked and lost for words too when Harry ends up opening his heart and baring his soul to his friend like this, and because one good turn deserves another, Harry ends up seemingly being the first person ever that Peter admits to that he loves Mary Jane, and that he can't imagine what his life would be like without her. Oh yeah, if this wasn't totally awkward before, it definitely is now. Hey, you know what? That was some good sharing. That was some good modern man, healthy masculinity. Let's get pizza and not talk about this anymore, KK. Now, as the comic comes to a close, we check back on in with Evangeline in the other dimension. She ends up getting her big offer from the mysterious unseen master of the dark spell book, and the deal is quite frankly one she can't pass up. Return to the prime material world, slay her master's new enemies, and in return, her human form will finally be restored. Oh yeah, I don't see anything that could possibly go wrong with this kind of deal, huh? And so that was Amazing Spider-Man Torn issue number 3, everybody. And well, again, I feel like this series isn't doing much to set my personal world on fire. It is one of these series that I just cannot seem to quit. There's a real warm glove quality to Straczynski's writing here. So much of it just feels right. Even if it is all admittedly stuff that's been done and done before, I think it's the perspective and the pacing that really ends up giving this one its unique flavor. It feels like so much of the modern Amazing Spider-Man stories are really much more interested in what's going on with Spider-Man than what's going on in Peter's life, and if they do end up shining a light on Peter's life, it's only ever to try and blow up his status quo or to artificially manufacture some sort of drama. Here though, this is just all normal, relatable stuff that young adults go through at that stage of their life. You know, the sort of stuff Spider-Man is known for, being relatable. Still not totally sold on the villain, but I do appreciate them going so big and weird and out there and Cthulhu with it here in this issue that it might actually end up winning me by the time everything is said and done. Overall, I'd give this one a 7.5 out of 10. Pretty enjoyable. Hey there everyone, it's your pal Cape Joel again, and if you're seeing my face right now, that means you watched to the end of the video, and I'll always be grateful for that. Retention helps in this crazy YouTube game, and so does becoming a patron. If you head on down to the description, you can find a link to my Patreon page. Recently just redid all the tiers, a lot of cool stuff offering up there, exclusive commentaries, exclusive polls, behind the scenes concept art for Capes and Quest. That's the brand new D&D show I've started soon. Never been a better time to become a patron. You can become a patron for as little as $1 a month and help the channel grow and, you know, help me continue to deliver content like what you just saw. So I want to thank you all, and I will see you again next time. Bye-bye.